Part of that community is our next storyteller. We have Matt Schmitz, who is the second time he is gracing the blah 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 motorcycle stage. His first time was at the very first Louisville event, which was a year ago in January, and he talked about his firsts and where the whole idea behind his whole little side thing going on, which is Team Loop, where that. But we have Matt Schmitz here. He has been riding and wrenching everything from pedal start mopeds to. I meant to ask you a word.
Leader bikes.
Leader bikes. I don't know about leader bikes.
Yeah, 1,000cc.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know all the terminology. See, from mopeds to leader bikes, road and dirt since 2006. That's a long time. What's the math on that? Long enough, right?
15 years, something like that.
All right, please welcome to the stage the guy who is back this weekend, Matt Schmitz.
Thank you, Susan. Before I start into the story about Garaged, I wanted to bring up something. I don't know if anybody else has seen this yet, but I saw it out there in the news, and I absolutely had to go and see it first. This ridiculous billboard that's down in Covington. Some friends were messing with one of their friends, and it's up there for a month. So if you're interested, it's down at 3rd Street in Bakewell. But the reason I'm even bringing it up is the pictures don't do it justice. It's way better in person. So definitely go get to see it if you can. Anyway, going into Garaged, I wasn't 100% sure on what exactly to talk about. The very first thing that came to mind was, folks having their experience wrenching in the garage, and starting with like the very first experience. And, I think a lot of people can relate to this in that they're, working with their dad in the garage and telling them it's like, hey, point the flashlight. There, no, there. It's like, and getting yelled at. That was my first thought for the garage experience. And then I started to realize it's actually about garage finds. So I kind of pivoted a little bit, and I came up through vintage pedal start mopeds. And what you're seeing on the screen right there is the very first motorbike I ever owned. That is a Bianchi Snark, little Italian bike built by an Italian bicycle company. And it did a blistering 27 miles an hour, and I had to work on it entirely myself. And the thing about mopeds is so many of them came here in the States due to the oil crisis, and they were used for a little bit. People rode them very lightly. A lot of these bikes have maybe less than 1,000, maybe a little more than that miles on them, and then they got shoved in a shed for 30 plus years. And fast forward to now, and people start to dig them out, put them on marketplace, and go, give me a couple $100 for them. It's like, I know what I got, right? These bikes that are in great shape. That's a Motorbicane, by the way, and boy, that is in sad shape. But the thing I learned through doing these vintage mopeds is learning how to work on bikes myself entirely, just starting from scratch, knowing the holy trinity of fuel, air, spark, and understanding how these things work. And mopeds are great introductory to that, because you can usually have these motors apart inside of an hour, and then back together and running and working, and that is really incredibly rewarding. But don't ever believe what you see in the ads out there, because there's no such thing as it just needs a freaking carb cleaning. That is an absolute lie. So lead in, this is a little bit of introductory into what my story is really going to be about, and that's and there's a little bit of some of the reason why I absolutely loved and enjoyed getting into this was the moped rallies. You can see a lot of those. It's just all these people that are riding these bikes, putting them together themselves, and the camaraderie behind it. It was just an amazing experience, and like Season said, I started that in 2006, and I knew shit about motorcycles, about any sort of two-wheeled vehicles, and here I had this amazing community that brought me around into it. So going back a little bit, but my story about Garage is a garage find that I came across after being in mopeds for a little while and having a couple of motorcycles of my own, and that's the Honda Hawk GT. And some of you might recognize that. Looks a little familiar to you. It's actually the same bike that's parked outside right now. And this bike I had located via Craigslist. It was a storage. It was a bike that was placed into storage and completely forgotten about. And a gentleman that flipped storage units, bought them up and sold what was present inside because they had been abandoned. Put it on Craigslist for it must have been $1,200, and didn't have a title, but it did have the keys, which that's freaking rare. And at the time, I lived in Michigan, and the nice thing about Michigan is that I know here, not having a title is kind of a death knell, unfortunately, for bikes. It's really difficult to get a title. But in Michigan, it's difficult, but not impossible. You can do a surety bond and get a title for your bike as long as it passes, all the inspections and everything, which that bike did. I had a lot of experience working on my partner Elizabeth's bike. That's hers right there. Very beautiful repaint. None of the Hawks ever came like that. That beautiful silver color. It originally was red, but a previous owner had decided to repaint it. It's gorgeous bike, and I learned so much about Honda Hawks working on that bike. So I knew, in picking up this Hawk GT, I knew exactly what I was going to be getting into. So it wasn't too difficult to go down that road. Tech difficulty, sorry. So over the course of a few months, I worked on it. That's the garage I shared with some buddies of mine in Kalamazoo when I lived there. And just slowly got that bike working. Just effectively just needed some carb work, some general PM. Honestly, it's a Honda, so it didn't need a whole lot to get going. And so I got it going and enjoyed it for a little bit. And then one of my friends is very interested in getting a motorcycle. And she has a very short inseam. And I don't know if you know about the Hawks. I mean, they have, I think it's like a 30-inch inseam on them. They're very, very small motorcycles. So I ended up, getting it prepared, and then decided, I picked this up for cheap. I got it flipped. I got it titled. I got it in decent shape, and my friend Jill is very interested in riding, and she was into mopeds too, but she wanted her next step, and this was likely the best way forward for her. So we ended up making a deal and deciding I decided to sell it to her. So I looked around to see if I had any pictures of Jill enjoying this wonderful motorcycle that I'd revived and enjoyed, and unfortunately I couldn't find any of her on it, and that's on me. But I thought it'd be just sorry, scene missing. Later, we're fast forwarding about 10 years later, and Jill decides, she likes the Hawk. It's a good bike, but she knows that she really prefers like a cruiser style. So she's on the hunt for, a Rebel 500. And so she reached out to our friends group and said, hey, does anybody want to buy my Hawk GT? Yep. I will buy that back. Absolutely. So I talked to her, I told her, I say, name your price. I don't care. I want that bike back. And God bless that woman, she sold it back to me for what I sold it to her for. So that was fantastic. So made a deal and time to go and grab it. At the same time, my uncle very, very graciously let me have a CB550 that he wasn't going to work on. So that's on my lift right now, being worked on and enjoyed. So before long, that'll be out there. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, I love that bike, both bikes. But yeah, picked them up both in the same trip. And the reason I'm telling you, the story about acquiring a bike, getting it back together, letting it go, and then getting it back, was that this is my favorite bike of all time, the R1100S. And this bike, I was the bike that got away. I decided to end up selling it very foolishly, and it was I had ridden it for a long distance trip, and it beat the heck out of me, because I just did it in way too much time and a lot of miles. And got back and thought, I need something a little bit better, that doesn't, hurt, doesn't like feel like I hurt after riding it. And I think that was an absolute mistake, because I did some really amazing, ridiculous, fun, stupid things with this bike. That worked. That actually worked. I kid you not. It actually towed extremely well. It was the only time I used it only once. But that's how crazy I get with some of my motorcycle builds. Decided I wanted to ride a moped at a moped rally instead of showing up on a motorcycle. It's a thing. I just love doing amazing things to it. And just the amount of stories with this bike too. This one of my buddies on a motorcycle riding trip tagged my Honda, and on the ride home, I shit you not, I got asked like 3 or 4 separate times, what kind of Honda is that? but I absolutely love that bike, and I ended up selling it and buying an 1100 RT, and that's the problem. That bike is a very, very, very good bike, but and if we got any Futurama fans in here, it's like the color just threw me. It was like, oh my God, it looks like just like the Planet Express ship. This meme here embodies my mistake in that the RT is brilliant, but I liked the R1100S, and I should have kept the R1100S. And the reason I'm bringing all of this up is that I recognized this, and then once I had the chance to get my Hawk GT back, I jumped on it. I absolutely needed to have that bike back. It's like, and it's like, don't make these mistakes, folks. It's like, if you have a bike out there that you ride and you absolutely love to ride it, that you look at it and you go, oh my God, I cannot wait to throw a leg over and get it out on the twisties and enjoy it. It's like, do not give that bike up. I absolutely think that's something you really need to pay attention to. That's the first ride I had with it after I got it sorted, back from my friend Jill. New tires on it, just had it nice, and boy, that was the best ride ever down in the Kentucky Twisties. So that's a picture of me and Elizabeth on the Dragon, on her Hawk, and the R1100S. So yeah, just as a little bit of a cautionary tale, it's like if you have a bike that you really love riding, don't let it go. So thank you.
I feel very targeted.